This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Swung on, drive to left field. Did he do it? He did! 4 home runs for Nick Kurtz! He is 6 for 6!
Swing and a drive, deep to left. The A's take the lead in grand fashion.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Stretch of the pitch to Cal. Swing and a drive, deep to right field. There it is, number 60, the modern-day Bambino.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe from humidors to walk-off dingers.
That swung at a high, deep drive to right. Smith is back. He will not even watch it. And the A's win it on a walk-off by Nick Kurtz.
We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching or listening to A's Cast Live. We actually have a very, very interesting, not just your typical spring training show. There have been some things that have happened that are, in my opinion, especially yesterday, very eye-opening on the world of sports, in the world of television, in the world of media rights, how this pertains to baseball and the fight coming up. If you weren't watching, as I always say, don't worry, I was. And there is somebody out there who may be the most qualified human being to talk about this kind of stuff. And he talked yesterday because he now runs the PGA Tour. He came from the National Football League. And right now, there's a golf tournament, Ponte Vedra Beach. That's northeast Florida. It's called the Players Championship. It's put on by the PGA Tour and the players. It's their tournament. And Brian Rolapp, who is the CEO of the PGA Tour and once was the guy that did all the television contracts and did all the digital, and he ran NFL Network. The PGA Tour stole him from the NFL. He talked yesterday, and it was like a masterclass. All the stuff that we've been hearing on baseball's side, you're like, I'm going to get into it. This guy, the guy who has helped all the television contracts and all the media rights for the NFL, nobody has a bigger piece of the pie than the NFL. And this is the guy that was there cutting all the deals for the NFL. So when I listen to him, and I listen to baseball people, I go, wow, there is a big difference. It's something, in my opinion, that everybody in our sport should have been listening to this guy yesterday as he gave his State of the Union and then later went on and did individual interviews. It was fascinating. Talking about where the television money, digital, around the world, the United States, the big piece of the pie that we're all trying to get. Because we're sold all the time in our sport that there's this endless amount out there. This guy yesterday told everybody, no, there's not. I think the players, I wish we could take the footage and give it to everybody in our game, what this guy was saying yesterday. Everybody, whether it's owners, front office, players, listen to what this guy had to say because you're in the same fight as he is now. He was in the fight of taking all of the media dollars from everybody. That's what the NFL did. Now he's in charge of the tour, and he's got to grow it for the PGA Tour. He went from the big fish, he went from the hunter, and now he was the hunted, now he's the hunter. The NFL has gobbled up a big, we're going to talk about the percentage, because he started giving percentages of what it is. And he said the bulk of it is here in our country. So as Scott Boras is trying to sell, and other people are trying to sell hocus pocus, He said the bulk of your media rights money is here in the United States. It is what it is. So he went from the big fish with the NFL. Now he's a small fish with the PGA Tour trying to grow the tour. He's exactly where we are in baseball. And he said stuff yesterday that I went, you're not hearing that from anybody in our game. We've heard our commissioner. Well, the players union had a leader. He had to step down because of all the legal stuff that's going on. They've got his right-hand man is now taken over. And then, of course, we hear from Scott Boras, who's so influential in what happens with the players. But this guy was the ultimate reality check for football, basketball, baseball, hockey, you name it. He basically told you this is the story, this is where we're at. We will get into that today. We have a little audio of it. We don't have the video, right? We just have the audio.
Yeah, just the audio from his
So he did a press conference. Then he went out and talked to media members. Then he went on the Golf Channel, and so they have their pregame show basically live, and it's either live from the players, live from the Masters, live from the. So these guys, they got to pepper him. And I had you watch it this morning. Impressive?
Yes, it was.
It's really impressive. Like, he breaks it down. This guy was Harvard Business School. He was Roger Goodell's right-hand man. This isn't like when I hear Scott Boras on Foul Territory and everybody likes to go off that in our business. Oh, we're going to have some of it for you, but you need to listen to what this guy is saying. And it's partially about our future. Jared Sandler from the Rangers is going to join us here as we're going to check in. We're not going to check in like we used to with all the teams, but we're going to check in with teams in our division. Skip Schumacher. How's old Skip doing?
Skip, no more Marcus Semien, now Brendan Nimmo. We talked about a little bit of Jacob deGrom yesterday, who made more starts than we thought last year. And can he do it again at age 37? He looked good last year on the air under 3. Rangers look different, but they added and they brought in a new skipper, as you mentioned. So they're looking to get back to their, can Corey Seager stay healthy?
Push Bruce Bochy out.
Yeah, Bochy. Now Bochy's back with the Giants.
Know your Rangers. We're going to play Know Your Rangers with Chris Caray today.
He said he has no shot. Well, you had 24 hours.
Yeah. Start checking the record books. Who is the all-time Ranger great who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, who not only owns a minor league team, but also owns a meat packing company?
Are you asking me or is asking in general?
I was just asking.
Because I know the answer. But you know the answer, comment on the comments on YouTube.
And last time he went out and threw a first pitch, it was like 85 miles an hour.
Yes, they're doing. And the Rangers, maybe you can ask Jared about the giveaway this year that they're doing for him. I told you about this, right? They're doing the giveaway from the fight, and it's like a bloody jersey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a pretty good giveaway.
That is awesome. So, but we may have a little game for Jared today. Now, we play, as everybody knows, we have the greatest game in spring training history, Know Your. So today, playing the Rangers, Chris Caray will have to play Know Your Rangers. We might have a little game for Jared today.
Only a few questions. We'll see how well he knows.
Only a few. And it's near and dear to his heart, too. Well, I'm playing to his strengths. Is he here?
He is here. Yeah, let's let me get him ready and we'll bring him on.
I'm assuming he's in Surprise, Arizona right now. Is that correct?
Well, no. I am home. Chris, today's the 1-month birthday of my daughter, so I am in Dallas.
Nice. Good
I
for
will
you.
be back in. Yeah, I'll be back in Arizona tomorrow, though. So I'm sorry that I'm missing out on this. They're calling it one of the biggest spring training games in recent memory. The Rangers and the A's, a lot on the line. I've been told that no one's going to be shaking hands in the batter's box.
No.
And we're going to have a lot of controversy for all 9 innings. And so whether it's on the Athletics side or the Rangers side, you probably need to drop whatever you're doing and lock in on the game today.
Yeah, you guys think it's cute over there in Surprise, but when you come to Mesa, you better be ready to strap it on.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Is this game, is the Know Your game the theme for me that you said is tailored to me? Know your underachieving USC football teams, or is
Okay. You know how much I respect you, USC Trojans. It's just going to be know your Trojans. I got a couple softballs.
Okay.
For you. I got a couple. It will no Lane Kiffin. Lance Kiffin will not be a part of it. It'll be about USC Trojan greats. So take us through how things are going with the Rangers, because obviously with Skip now at the helm, there's a little bit of a change. Our buddy Marcus Simeon's not there anymore. How's everything going looking for the Rangers going in 2026? Because at least we know you're going to have a lot of starting pitching.
Yeah, I think, obviously disappointment the last 2 years. After you win a World Series in 2025 or 2024, the Rangers really weren't even a playoff threat much beyond a week after the deadline. And then last year they made this run late to make it interesting in mid-September, but they were playing from behind the whole year. And I think that, no one would look at the last 2 years and suggest it was anything other than, a disappointment that there wasn't playoff baseball following the World Series in 2023. But it's a roster with a lot of talent. They're not in stripped down rebuild mode. And, when you couple that with a new manager, there's excitement. And then plus there's always the, hope springs eternal, and everyone's, tied for first and tied for last right now. And, you think about all the possibilities, and guys say the right things in spring training. And then this guy says the right thing. And then, hey, it's a home run that spring training game the next day. And it's like, 40 home run season. There's a lot going right. I would say, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this, the best thing the Rangers have going for them right now is that they are relatively healthy. I do think that health is a huge part of the variance between, a team that fails to meet expectations versus one that maybe exceeds expectations. But the pitching looks like it's going to be great. Offensively, 2 straight years where people thought this lineup would be one of the best in baseball, but wasn't. And so now you got people who wonder whether some of these guys who have underachieved are just, that version of themselves now, or whether there's going to be some bounce back. I think that offensively, they'll probably be better than people think, just because it seems like their value is at an all-time low in terms of like the buy high, sell low type of idea. 2 straight years where they haven't scored the way that people thought. But I do think that some of the guys who have been a part of that problem are maybe due for a little bit of a bounce back.
Well, a recipe for success in our game is if you can keep people from scoring, you've got a chance. And it's not like the Rangers fell off. You're still 500, so it still was a pretty decent ball club. And if I start looking at DeGrom, Eovaldi, Gore, and if Jack Leiter still lives up to the billing and you got more there coming, I mean, you're talking about run prevention. Well, how do you prevent runs? Well, you got to be able to throw the baseball. I just talk about your starting staff. I mean, it could be with Mackenzie Gore coming over. This could be one of the, if not the best starting staffs in baseball.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And Globe Life Field is still in its infancy, and we've had years where it's played more hitter friendly, but it seems like a little bit recently it's been more pitcher friendly. So that, that certainly helps reinforce that, especially at home. I always think about the depth. Right. Yes, DeGrom and Eovaldi 1 and 2. That's great. But you mentioned Mackenzie Gore. So he's your third starter. That's a guy who's an all-star last year. I think a lot of people believe that Jack Leiter's on an all-star trajectory. But, in his first full major league season, he had a sub-4 ERA. That's impressive. And then what do you have beyond that? Well, it could be Jacob Latz in the 5th spot, maybe Kumar Rocker. And then you get around the all-star break. And it's always dicey to rely on these types of guys because you never know how someone's going to respond post long-term injury, but Cody Bradford and Jordan Montgomery are going to be healthy, hopefully around that time. And if needed, could help reinforce the rotation, maybe help out the bullpen. The rotation looks great. It's the bullpen where I think there's some questions. Now, a bullpen can fix itself a little bit easier than a rotation can or a lineup can, but I do think the Rangers have a lot of questions right now. Who's going to fill what role? What are you going to get from this guy? It's not like the Rangers have a bullpen where 3 or 4 guys are returning with a track record of getting outs and leverage spots consistently. And so I think that's going to be a little bit of a juggling act at first to figure out where guys settle in. But yeah, the rotation should be top notch. And you're right. They don't need to score 8-9 runs to, win a lot of ball games, you would think. But They certainly lost too many games last year where they only gave up 3 or 4 runs, and they want to avoid that this year. And if they do, then you're looking at a team that should be right in the mix in the last couple weeks of the season for a playoff spot. But again, there's still a lot of variance with the lineup, but you feel like you know what you're going to get from the rotation as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah, 8-9 runs a game. That was the ballpark across the street.
Yeah.
Across the street with the wind tunnel, not now.
And that's when they were giving up 10 or 11 runs a game. So, that wasn't working out.
And outside, super hot. Now you're cushy. You got air conditioning. Everybody's got smiles at that ballpark now. The food looks great. All right, when we look at some of the young guys, when you think of when you start thinking of Evan Carter, you Wyatt Langford, like you start thinking if the young guys actually become what you think they become, and Young stays healthy, and you start to think, well, that could help your offense right there if the young guys blossom.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who expect that Wyatt Langford is going to really break out this year. It's funny. He had a 2020 season last year in his second major league season, and it's almost like people were disappointed because I think, there were a few folks who projected him as a top 10 MVP finisher, and it just didn't work out that way. He was dealing with oblique injuries on both sides last season and trying to play through that. You can never guarantee perfect health, obviously. We'd love to see what it looks like with a fully healthy season. Evan Carter and Josh Young are big mysteries. With Evan Carter, it's a two-sided mystery. One, can he hit lefties? Can he hit enough against lefties to be in the lineup, or is he just a platoon player? And you'd hate to make a guy a platoon player, before he turns 25. He's also got to stay healthy. He's never really shown the ability to do that. Josh Young, unfortunately, same can be said for him. He has had a tough time staying healthy. He's coming back from an adductor strain or however they want to characterize it. He's been out for a couple weeks here in spring, but he was also the starting third baseman in the 2023 American League All-Star team. So it's in there, right? The talent is there. His BABIP has consistently exceeded league averages, which is to say that when he puts the ball in play, he hits the ball hard. He squares it up. He isn't putting the ball in play enough, though. And the chase and the discipline has been a challenge. But it's there, right? You've seen it. And when those guys help you win a World Series, it's tough to forget that. When Evan Carter has the 2-month stretch that he had to help carry this team in September and then October, you can't just forget that easily. But it's a new staff. And a lot of the guys on this staff don't have the same loyalties to some of these guys because they weren't around when the Rangers won the World Series in 2023. And in the case of Skip Schumacher, he was competing against the Rangers, albeit on the National League side. But, it's not like he was benefited by the Rangers winning the World Series in 23. So a lot of these guys have to prove it to new faces. The talent's there, but they got to be able to stay on the field. And even when they're on the field, are they on the field because they're trying to fight this, this label of being injury prone, or are they on the field because they're physically in a position to compete at a high level? I think there's sometimes can be a little bit of a blurred line with those two characterizations.
All right, before we play the greatest game in spring training history, college edition, we'll call it the college edition. Seattle is the favorite, and then you have kind of the three where A's are going to be better. I'm not being a homer. It's just a reality. A's are going to be a lot better.
For sure.
Younger kids are maturing. They're going to be better. We don't know if the Astros should regress, but still be pretty good. We're talking about what the Rangers are going to be. I've called a couple Angels games since when I was down in Arizona. They're not going to be very good. And I love Kurt. We love us some Kurt Suzuki. I covered his entire career. I love Zook, but they're going to be bad. How are you guys viewing the AL West going into 2026?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you remember this, Chris. Around this time last year, I told you and anyone who would listen, I thought the A's would finish ahead of the Astros, and it didn't necessarily work out that way. But you don't need to sell me on the Athletics. Obviously there's some peculiarities with the ballpark, but now that there's a year under the team's belt, being in Sacramento and just understanding the dynamics there, I don't think any pitcher wants to face the Athletics, whether it's West Sacramento or any ballpark. That's such a tough lineup, and I imagine the pitching will be better this year on the whole than it was last year. So I look at this as a 4-team division in terms of like teams that could make the playoffs. Yes, I guess anything can happen with the Angels. It's just tough to buy into that. I think the Astros run is kind of over, and maybe the last 2 months of last year helped them. It's tough to just write them off. I'm obviously not going to sit here and tell you I think the Rangers don't have a chance, because I think they do. And when you've got the pitching they have, it's tough to not at least envision a path to the playoffs. And if they hit, then it becomes a lot more clear. And then I think for me, Chris, the Mariners, what's interesting about them is Cal Raleigh. He's obviously a stud. Is he going to be as good this year as he was last year? I mean, it's just if he is, that's amazing. It's just so tough for me to envision a catcher who took on the workload he had last year to be as productive. And relatively speaking, their pitching staff has been healthy in terms of significant long-term injury avoidance. But they are so deep, maybe they can weather a little bit of the storm there. I do think that on paper, it's tough to say that Seattle isn't the best team in this division, but I definitely don't think it's like a runaway. Like Seattle is absolutely going to win this division. I think that there are a lot of weird factors that they've got going on. Again, I think the Athletics are scary because they could just out-hit everyone they face, and if they just pitch well enough, then look out. I think it's going to be a fun division. With the expanded postseason field, I think you could have 4 teams vying for a postseason spot when you approach the trade deadline, which makes things obviously really interesting.
All right, there is no question that in my lifetime and for a long, long time, the pride of West Coast college football is the USC Trojans. Whether you love them or you don't like them, it is what it is, the national championships. So you are a proud graduate of USC, so I wanted to have a little fun. We just have a couple questions.
Cool.
Know your Trojans. Are you ready, Commander?
I am. Jared, are you ready?
I'm ready. Quick shout out to the 17-0 USC baseball team led by Andy Stankiewicz, greatest star in program history. Just want to give them a quick shout out.
There you go.
Well, I'll start
Trojan
there.
love.
I'll start there with Trojan baseball quickly. Who's the Trojans' all-time leader in home runs?
While at USC?
All at USC, yep.
All right.
Kind of has an A's tie a little bit.
Is it okay? Well, so then Mark McGuire.
That is correct. The great
Okay.
Mark McGuire is your all-time leader in dingers.
All right. Obviously, of USC graduates at the major league level, he is. But I just, you never know. There's always that random guy who pops in college, but it doesn't really work out in the majors. I also didn't know if Dave Kingman maybe, where he ranked in terms of home run hitters at USC.
Another great USC Trojan, but no, Mark McGuire has beat out some guy named Jeff Clement, who I have no idea.
Former Pirate, failed in Mariner prospect.
Yeah.
Third overall pick. Jeff Clement was just before my time there, but he was a USC legend.
Mark McGuire, 82, 83, 84, hit and combined 54 home runs to be the all-time Trojan leader. All right, number 2.
How many national championships has the USC football team won?
Is this a controversial question? Like, what are we recognizing?
No. We're recognizing everything.
Yeah,
we're recognizing
I'm going off
I
the
think
team's official site.
Yeah, I think if you're recognizing everything, I think it's 11 if you go back to like the 1920s, right?
That is correct.
11 is correct.
Know your Trojans. He's 2 for 2. I love it.
But can I tell you guys, how many they've won since I started rooting for them, which was when I went there my freshman year?
I believe that'd be 0, yes.
You know how many college football playoff appearances they've had?
That'd be 0.
0. Yeah, we need to fix that, please.
Hey, as Al Davis always said with the Raiders, our future is what it's all about, baby. It's not about the greatness is always in the future. All right, number 3.
How many Heisman Trophy winners has USC produced?
Are we recognizing OJ or no?
Yes. And Reggie Bush. They both are recognized.
Reggie absolutely should be recognized. So I believe with Caleb, I think Caleb Williams was their 8th. Yeah, okay.
Correct. Can you name them? This is just a bonus question.
Just the bonus to walk it off.
Okay. Caleb, OJ, Mike Garrett, Reggie Bush, Marcus Allen. So that's 5. Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, Charles White.
Oh, he nailed it.
Oh, God. He is a proud alum, and he knows his Trojans. That's a walk-off right there.
The other one I had, which is pretty surprising, I don't know if anyone knows this.
All right.
Who's the Trojans' all-time leader at USC in touchdown receptions?
Okay.
Not Lynn Swan from the Peninsula.
It is not Lynn Swan.
Is it
Keyshawn Johnson?
No.
No, is it Dwayne Jarrett?
Nailed it.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
41 touchdowns at USC.
We need to get you to L.A. and be a great representative of the Trojans.
Move over, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley, go back to Oklahoma. I got my guy here. Hey,
okay, trust me, I call plays with the best of them from my couch. I promise you that. I've never made a bad play call while watching USC.
I actually had dinner the other night. I went to San Jose State. I had dinner the other night with the offensive coordinator, and I'm like, you know what? If you run it again on 3rd and 8, that stupid dive play, I'm going to text you all night long. I mean, so like what we think we know from the stands. Hey, great job. We appreciate it. Congratulations. Obviously a very special time in your life. And are we going to see you in Sacramento?
Of course. Yeah, I'll be there. All
right. Enjoy the rest.
Going to Sacramento. I think it's fun.
Enjoy the rest of spring training, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jared.
Great stuff. My God, he was perfect.
I don't even think our next guest, who's a historian of all sports, Hembo, could nail those questions like he did.
Hembo on Know Your Trojan. I mean, Hembo, where would we go with Hembo? Know your Phillies, know your Eagles.
No, if you're really a Philly sports fan, you would know everything about the Flyers.
I'm the Blake Street bomber.
Broad Street.
Broad Street. Oh, Blake Street was the Rockies.
The Rockies, correct. We did that last week.
All right, coming up next, there is really no question that our next guest is probably the smartest in all of sports that we have on this program, right? I mean, when you think of somebody, what he does at ESPN, what he does for their morning show, what he does as their top researcher, as a best-selling author, when you talk about somebody that is all about research in all of sports, we got a lot of smart baseball people. This guy's not only a smart baseball person, but when you look at everything that was done for, think about Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Baseball, this is the guy. And he's going to join us next right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun. Spring training is back as the Athletics get ready for the 2026 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Dodgers, Giants, Cubs, Padres, and more at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Secure your spot for priority access to 2028 season tickets at the A's Ballpark in Las Vegas for just $19.01. The amount honors the founding year of the Athletics franchise in 1901. By joining the priority list, you'll get an early opportunity to grab season tickets before they go on sale to the public, while also supporting youth baseball and softball programs across Southern Nevada. To secure your spot, visit athletics.com/Vegas.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game time, schedules, and more. The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
Baseball is back and big league action has never been more affordable. For a limited time, grab your tickets to see the A's in West Sacramento for just $8. That's right, only $8 for select games this April and May. Catch the showdowns against the Royals, Cardinals, and American League West rivals, the Mariners and the Rangers. Whether it's a midweek getaway or an afternoon at the park, don't miss your chance to see your A's for less than the price of a ballpark snap. Tickets are moving fast. Head to athletics.com, that's athletics.com, to secure your seats today. American League Rookie of the Year Nick Kurtz joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live to discuss his historic 2025 campaign and becoming the first Athletic to win the award since 2009.
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, when it kind of got announced, we were all in Hawaii together. You know, Willie was in the same room as me when we were on the show, so that was really cool to kind of, you know, celebrate, you know, as a team.
When you look back, like, what do you think of when you look back in this Rookie of the Year season? You had the monstrous game in Houston, historic game. What are the things that you really reflected on?
Just kind of the whole year as a whole. You know, when you look at any kind of season, you have, you know, the parts where you feel really good at the plate. You have the days where you feel really bad, and then the majority is you're just trying to do what you can do that day to put the ball in play and get a base hit. It's not a good day if you don't get the team win as well. So that's kind of what I've reflected the most about is, yeah, I did all these great things, but it's got to lead to October. And that's the most important thing.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
When he's not having to talk about LeBron James and is LeBron James the greatest ever? Will LeBron James join Steph Curry? When he doesn't have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, when he doesn't have to talk about, will Tom Brady make a return to football? When he can just talk baseball. This is his love, a former great college baseball player. You see him on Get Up, the morning show on ESPN. He is the top researcher for ESPN, best-selling author, joins Buster Only every single week. Paul Hembekides, the great Hembo, is with us here on A's Cast Live. This is where you can just come be a baseball guy.
This is me being me, my friend. It's great to see your face. It's good to hear your voice. You know, there's nothing I enjoy doing more than talking ball with you. Here in the Northeast, we have like a high 40s degree mist right now. Spring is in the air, but it's sort of coming in and out. So there's nothing I enjoy doing more than thinking about the dog days of summer, watching Nick Kurtz hit bombs to left field and everything that might happen with your club and mine as we approach a really exciting baseball season. And look, I told Buster last week, I think this is as excited as I've been just in terms of like the national interest in the game since 2004. You'll recall that was the season coming off that epic 03 postseason, coming off an off season in which A-Rod was traded to Boston. That was Knicks traded to the Yankees. The game was sort of at its zenith at that point. I was 13 years old. That's kind of when baseball is at its, you know, most magical form when you're a young person. But look, right now, baseball's in its bag. The WBC has been awesome. I think the game is building extraordinary momentum. And aside from the, you know, the potential lockout coming at the end of the season, which we know is just the kind of thing that's going to loom over us this year, I think baseball is entering this season with about as much momentum as I can ever remember. But look, you've been covering this game as long as I have, longer than I have. Are you as juiced up about this season as I am?
I'm very excited about our athletics. I think the American League is wide open. It's one thing I want to talk to you about. I made a case the other day, as much as we've all acted like the Dodgers are the devil, I had to remind people that when I really started getting into this job in the late 90s, the Yankees were the devil, right? The Yankees were winning every single year. No one's ever going to win again. Baseball is broke. That will not last forever. The Yankees proved that. They had their great run, but it ends. I also made a case the other day, and I'm thinking about us in Vegas, as we will be a much bigger entity when we get there, that the Dodgers, we may have to thank the Dodgers someday, because up in the Northeast, that's where everything we get shoved, Red Sox, Yankees down our throat year after year after year, and it's now not your Phillies, it's the Mets. The Dodgers have kind of ripped the baseball heart out of the Northeast, and they've forced baseball to realize there's something special down in Southern California that they've had to make the Dodgers, because of Shohei and Yamamoto and Mookie and Freeman, make them a primetime team. You've got to get them on television. Everybody wants to see them. So the next couple of years, that will not change. But when we show up to Vegas with our talent in 2028 and we have that new ballpark, the Northeast is going to have to recognize there's something special going on in Las Vegas. We'll probably get more primetime games than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's a well-made point. I mean, I always argue with people here in the Northeast, those who say that, look, in order for baseball to be at its best, the Yankees and the Red Sox both have to be good and hate each other simultaneously. And just because that was the case, you know, we'll call it 10, 12, 15 years ago, doesn't mean that's baseball at its very best, because I would argue that for as much fun as that was for the national fan, and of course for fans of those clubs, baseball is far better when you have teams from coast to coast competing. And in the case of the Dodgers, you have yourself the devil that everyone roots against, with Shohei Ohtani, the most popular baseball player we've had in 100 years, bringing this thing globally, bringing this thing worldwide. I'm calling it the international pastime. You called him a human ATM, and you're exactly right about it. So I don't really ever like the health of baseball conversation, because typically those are people having those conversations aren't the people that know ball, aren't the people that love ball. If I had $1 for every time someone asked me, how can you fix baseball? What is wrong with baseball? I'd have a lot more dollars than I have right now. And the answer to that question right now is very little. As I said, the sport is in its bag. I love the fact that we have national interest coast to coast. And for your sake, I'm awfully eager to see what your club looks like in Las Vegas. It's going to be one of the biggest things baseball has done in the 21st century.
You know, last year when we were on just this horrific dive, we lost 20-21, and it really sunk our battleship. But the reason why I bring it up is during that time we were playing the Toronto Blue Jays, and they were just by beating us, they got back to 500, and the talk was, hey, are they going to, you're going to have to ship Bichette out? Are you going to have to rebuild? Blah, 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 blah. No one was saying, Toronto here in May, look out, they're going to represent the American League in the World Series and could win the World Series. So it makes me think going into this year, the American League, Dodgers are going to be obviously the favorites in the National League, but talk about the American League. It seems kind of wide open in anybody's game.
As wide open as I can ever remember. And that is not typically something that you've said about the American League, of course, because for the longest time, the Yankees and the Red Sox have been at the very top of that conversation. And obviously for a good bit of time, the Houston Astros, but that is no longer the case. I mean, you follow the money just like I do. The National League and their behemoths have outspent the American League in recent off seasons by an order of magnitude. Even the New York Yankees, by their standards, have been somewhat penny pinchy over the course of the last few years, in part because they've not felt compelled to do it, because the Red Sox aren't doing it, because the Tigers aren't doing it. Even some of the clubs out west aren't doing it so much so. And I think that goes a long way in the league's parity. Like, you don't have that kind of arms race, for lack of a better term, the way that you have in the National League. The Dodgers are one of the big reasons why the Phillies and the Mets here in the Northeast have had to spend money hand over fist in order to compete. We've seen the San Diego Padres in recent years spend money hand over fist, unlike they've ever spent in the history of their franchise, in part because of what the Dodgers have done. I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats, and you can hate the Dodgers, and grit your teeth anytime they win a baseball game, which means you've grit your teeth a lot in recent years, of course, but they're the rising tide. They're lifting the boat. They're giving their rev share to a lot of the small market clubs. They're obviously packing your home stadium when they come and visit. So while I understand how there are some folks that are especially uneducated, whether it be fans or media, that say, oh, the Dodgers are ruining baseball, I think you can make a very strong argument, perhaps a stronger argument, that they're having a direct opposite impact on this game that we know and love. I'm not here to sit and tell you that your perspective on this is incorrect. It's merely an opinion. But from where I sit, objectively, I think the Dodgers have been far better for baseball than worse for baseball.
They're just doing what the Yankees were doing in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Correct.
Basically the same thing.
Correct. The big difference between what the Yankees did then and what the Dodgers are doing now, of course, is Ohtani. The Ohtani acquisition and the contract that he signed has enabled all of this to take shape. You and I had conversations for years, the Dodgers winning 100-plus regular season games and then tripping over themselves in the postseason. It was not until Shohei Ohtani arrived with that ludicrous deferred contract that they were able to aggregate all this talent in order to win back-to-back championships. And they were an IKF lead away from not winning it this year. The Milwaukee Brewers won more regular season games this year than the Dodgers did. So I understand the nature. Look, believe me, like so many of the people in my life and the voices that you see online love to hate the Dodgers, and understandably so. But to me, public perception, public sentiment regarding the Dodgers doesn't much matter. The point is that you have an opinion. The point is that they elicit strong opinion and interest, and that kind of vitriol, that kind of hatred is an objective good for the sport. What you don't want is the apathetic fan, right? Ask Adam Silver about that these days. What baseball doesn't have right now are many apathetic fans. And so I think we can tinker around the edges, improve our CBA, improve our rev share model, perhaps come up with some kind of salary structure that better suits top and bottom market teams. But by no means do I believe that the Dodgers are a bad thing for the sport, let alone ruining this game that we know and love so dear.
New York Times best-selling author, but I'm still waiting for the one book where we rank the players all time. Before I ask you my Ohtani question, where are we on this book?
The book is, I would say, much further along than I have led you to believe. It's something that we have now talked about, I believe, going on 7 years. All good things come to those who wait. Look, as I like to say, Rome wasn't built in a day or 7 years. for that matter. So I can assure you, you'll get that first copy in your hand when you and I are old and gray, and we will enjoy it together.
I actually once went to AI to check how long it took to build Rome, and it was a long time. It was a long time to build Rome. I get asked all the time, is Ohtani the best player of all time? And I go, no, because you got to play a long time. If you want to be with Ruth and Bonds and Mays and Aaron and Williams and those guys, put our guy Ricky, that 100+ WAR crew that's way up there. Your guy Mike Schmidt, I think it's like 108 and WAR. Talk about the greats of the greats. You got to play a long time. But is he the greatest skill set? I think it's almost no question. I don't even know why I'm asking. But that's how I answer it. I go, it's the greatest skill set we've ever seen.
He's the best player of all time. He is far from the greatest. And these are two very different things. Greatest is what you have accomplished, your resume. How well did you run the marathon? Best is a very different proposition. Best is how good is your good? And in his case, his good is as good as anybody this side of Babe Ruth. And one could make a very cogent argument based on how long and how effectively Ohtani has pitched that he's a far better two-way player than Babe Ruth is. What I'll do right now, my friend, is just go through the players whom I believe are in the inner circle. If you had to erect the Hall of Fame today from scratch, and I assigned you the responsibility of building an inner circle, and I gave you 10 players with which to do it, I'm curious how many of these guys would overlap with your list, mine, and these would not be ordered parenthetically.
So, folks, this is like chapter 1, 2, and 3 of his book right here. This is the early part of the book.
That's right. So I have effectively put 140 baseball players in 14 different rooms or 14 different chapters based on theme, threads of commonality, not so much ranking, because how are you going to rank Cy Young, who pitched on a 50-foot mound to Albert Pujols, who was a 21st century slugger? I mean, baseball's too great a game to be so reductive with your analysis, but that's a conversation for another day. These are the players whom I believe to be in baseball's inner circle. Tell me after I'm done with these 10, how many, in your judgment, are right, and how many of these guys you feel like don't belong in such a collection. I go Mays, Aaron, Pujols, Gehrig, Ted Williams, Josh Gibson, Cobb, Walter Johnson, Ohtani, and Babe Ruth. In my judgment, these are the 10 greatest baseball players of all time. So in my opinion, at least, based on his current trajectory, maybe not if he dropped dead tomorrow, but based on his current trajectory, Ohtani is among the 10 greatest baseball players of all time, but by no means would I be willing to put him ahead of Babe Ruth based on body of work, because as you well know, the hardest race to run is the marathon, and he's not even had the opportunity to run those 26.2 miles. He's probably 15 miles in. He's well on his way, but in order to be considered the greatest baseball player that ever lived, you have to endure, and he's not yet had the chance to endure.
And we're going to see how it finishes out pitching-wise for him. If he starts adding more and more and more, if he stays healthy, more and more to the pitching, we know the offense is going to be there. Hembo joins us here, A's Cast Live. All right, when you start looking at building a team and you start looking at team success, you crunch a lot of data. Obviously, you want to be able to pitch. You want to get innings out of your starters. You need your high leverage guys to work. You want to hit bombs. You want to score runs. You have to play defense. If you don't play defense, it will expose you, a la the Yankees in the World Series 2 years ago. But if you had to say that's the one thing you've got to hang your hat on in modern day baseball that you have to do well, that we can look at every single, we can check every month, we can do every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, is our team doing this? What does our team have to do? It's not negotiable to be good in modern day baseball.
You have to be able to hit, and you have to be able to hit with guys that you home grew and have signed to team-friendly contracts. It's the single most important thing. I'll break this down for you. So if you look at the components of winning and what drives it across baseball, about 60% of it comes from position players. About 40% of it comes from pitchers. And if you look at it more specifically amongst position players, it's about a 50-10 split between hitting and fielding. And so if you look at just that notion holistically, this is based on the WAR formula, which frankly every team adheres to in one way or another. Again, I'm being a little bit reductive with my analysis, but I'm rounding for the purposes of this conversation. What I'm telling you is 60% of the value that your team is going to be producing or expected to produce comes from your starting nine. Doesn't come necessarily from your pitching. And as we well know, given the volatility of pitching these days, you can build a pitching factory and end up like the Mets did with Jacob deGrom and Matt Harvey and Steven Matz and Noah Syndergaard and Zach Wheeler, basically winning nothing because pitcher volatility is higher than it's ever been. And thus, what you must be able to do is draft develop, and sign your young, homegrown position players to team-friendly contracts. And then what you do is outsource your pitching. There is no one way to do this, but that is the cleanest way to do this, the most linear way to do this. And you didn't know I was going here with this answer, but that's why I so believe in what the A's are doing out there, because what the A's have done so successfully is exactly that. It is so much easier to outsource your pitching than to develop it, because when it comes to developing your pitching, you can do every single thing right and get burned. But if you do every single thing right, you're not going to get burned by Nick Kurtz or Shea Langoliers or Tyler Soderstrom or Jacob Wilson or Lawrence Butler or Denzel Clark or so on and so forth. If you look at the most successful teams over the course of time, most of them have done it this way. Most of them, at least in recent years, have been able to do it by being able to draft or develop young players in your lineup, get them to bang over the course of 10, 12, 15 years, because that sets your floor. Your lineup sets your floor. Your pitching sets your ceiling. And what the A's have done is set an extremely high floor that's only going to continue to raise over the course of time. And it is much easier to obtain pitching from the outside than it is to develop it and hope that your young guys don't get hurt, don't run into roadblocks, because right now pitching is as volatile as it's ever been. And thus the smartest teams in baseball are recognizing that. And look, for example, the Dodgers of this dynasty, very few of their pitchers have been homegrown and developed, right? I mean, their entire rotation and much of their bullpen are your best pitchers that they've signed or traded for. That's the golden goose, and that's why I think your team is well on its way.
That is spot on. It doesn't get any better than that. Paul Hembekides from ESPN here on A's Cast Live. When we start looking at the WBC, we just experienced Olympic hockey, which everybody I know, it was like crazy. Everybody watched it, right? And it's a bunch of people who don't watch hockey. They got up early here on the West Coast. Wasn't so early for you guys. But it was like man, woman, and child was watching Olympic hockey. The rankings show that. And it's because they do it during their – it's just the way it falls in their season. It's awesome. I've asked this question. It's very unpopular. But I think about our All-Star game. I'm a guy who follows television ratings just like yourself. And television ratings for our Midsummer Classic have just dropped and dropped. All the All-Star games have basically jumped the shark, other than the baseball still does well, but it's by itself. You know, you got WNBA, you have some golf, but I mean, it's by itself, but the ratings keep going down. Is it possible, and what would it do for the WBC to actually put it somewhere in the summer, maybe shrink the teams so you shrink the amount of time, and baseball's making a ton of money off of it. The players union and the owners, this is the only thing they agree upon because they're both making money hand in hand, right? I hate to tell everybody, oh, Team Italy. No, this is a cash grab for baseball, for the owners and the players. Could there be like a 2 weeks where we just suck it up every 2 years, 3 years, and maybe it'd be far more interesting for people instead of March to do this like in July?
I very much believe so. I mean, so much of the WBC was overshadowed by NFL free agency and other things happening this year on the calendar, because this is what happens in March. And baseball has the opportunity every July and August to absolutely own this space. And moving the WBC to then would enable us to capture that space. Now, do I think it could be challenging logistically? Yeah, I suppose. I think you could make a good faith argument that every third year you play a 154-game season. There have been more 154-game seasons in baseball history than 162. So it's not a record book issue. Bryce Harper was talking about the Olympics and the notion of participating in those. I view these international competitions, albeit risky for team, such that players really like playing in them, especially those, of course, who have gotten paid. And looking at the forest through the trees, it has been an objective good, if not great, for the game of baseball, because there are so many international eyeballs on this. And I don't think there's anything that you can do that's more intelligent, more straightforwardly cogent than just owning this time on the calendar, owning this space. And July provides you that opportunity. Now, with television, people like myself might say is they're just not, people aren't watching TV in July because they're on vacation, because the weather's better. This is all math that you could do very easily. But look, Rob Manfred could call Gary Bettman, have a half an hour conversation with him about how he does it around the Olympics and around the Four Nations and such. And it's a pretty easy thing to figure out logistically. I just named some of them, but I'd love to see baseball own July, say, every 3 years in an international event. But it's not obvious to me that players would be quite as eager as they are now, because after you played baseball for 2 or 3 months, perhaps you're a little bit less inclined to put on more wear and tear.
All right, if there is somebody who is going to win the National League this year and represent the National League in the World Series, not named the Dodgers, who is it?
I think it is my Philadelphia Phillies, and obviously I am biased.
Bills are back, baby.
I'd like to make it clear I am exceedingly biased, but in answering that question, you know as well as I do, I hate all of my favorite teams and players, so I'm saying that objectively. As Mike Schmidt once famously said, Philadelphia is the one town in which you can, have the thrill of winning a baseball game one day and the agony about reading about it in the paper the very next day, or something to that effect that I just mangled. That's what happens in Philadelphia. The point being, this team is going to pitch out of its ever-loving mind. From what I understand, and I have good reason to believe that Zach Wheeler is going to be back and be an 80 or 90% version of himself, and himself is one of the very best pitchers on earth. Christopher Sanchez is inarguably a top 10 pitcher in baseball. Jesus Luzardo was just locked up to a $135 million contract. You saw Aaron Nola's stuff look pretty good yesterday. His fastball lived at 93 atop the zone. Phillies have Andrew Painter, who's one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball, and a filthy bullpen with Joan Duran on the back end, and Orion Kerkering, and Brad Keller, and Jose Alvarado. The Phillies have the pitching to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers in that context. Now, the Phillies only have 3 hitters that you feel confident are going to be demonstrably above average this year. Those, of course, being Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Trey Turner. That's, by the way, the order in which I would put them in the batting order. We'll save that for another day. The Phillies season will be determined by how well the bottom 2/3 of the lineup hits. Now, that's a lot of people. That's 2/3 of your lineup, of course. Spots number 4 through 9. But if you're going to be going for the gusto this year, perhaps we'll see the Phillies be a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline, be willing to part with a prospect or two that they might not otherwise. Keep in mind, this club outscored the Dodgers in that playoff series last year, and Orion Kerkering blew it at the end. I mean, they played competitive games against the Dodgers. So I could see the Mets doing it. I could see the Cubs doing it, the Brewers doing it, maybe even the Giants doing it. But the Phillies have the clearest path to doing it, although I certainly wouldn't bet against the Dodgers. I do view them as something of a behemoth.
When I think about Philadelphia and I think about South New Jersey, you got the Liberty Bell, you got Independence Hall. Basically, our government was started in Philadelphia, if you know a little bit about American history. Before we start talking about Washington, D.C., New York wasn't that big of a deal. Philadelphia plays a huge part in American history. Well, it's beautiful. You got great food. You got all 4 teams. I mean, why are you people so miserable?
I don't exactly know why. So the term Negadelphian was once thrust upon me, and it is exceedingly accurate. I don't know why it is. It's a cultural thing that can't be explained. I think, at least in my case, much of it is ascribed to the talk radio culture. Like, I became a sports fan by listening to the, Howard Eskins and Angelo Cataldi's and Anthony Garganos of the world every single day. And look, I mean, it's like catnip over here. Anytime you say something negative, the phone lines explode. I think Philly talk radio hosts were the first ones to figure that out. Boston and New York not long after. But that's just the world in which we live. I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I was upset by how badly they played in the second half of that game. They allowed Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to put up way too many garbage points. So this is the world in which I live. I just can't have a nice thing or enjoy them. And that's why everyone hates me, and they have good reason to.
Like, I'm thinking about when you guys are all in Connecticut together, right? Or New York, but let's just say the mothership for ESPN is in Connecticut, and you've got Boston, you've got New York, you've got Philly people. Like, how does all this negativity survive? If you had to rank the most negative, is it New York? Is it Philly? Is it Boston? Who is the most negative out of all you people?
Philadelphia is the most negative by an order of magnitude because we just hate everything. Like, New York fans are entitled and yet also the victim somehow, which is just the worst combination of two things that fans can be. But they're not close to as negative as us. Boston fans, I think, have the distinction of being like a nice little cross section or Venn diagram of a lot of these different practices and notions. They're not quite as loud as the New York fans are, or as authoritative, it seems. But that's not to take away anything from the annoyances that they cause all of us. I think Philadelphia fans have a special place. And my sort of elevator pitch here is we care more than anybody else. And I say that because, of course, I'm from there. But the people that come and play and coach in Philadelphia, they always talk about their experience as if it's a singular one. If you play in New York, you play in Boston, you play in Philadelphia, they talk about Philly differently than they talk about those other places. It's the temperament of the fans, the mannerism of the sports talk all that stuff is all kind of boiled into a pot, and either you have it or you don't. I mean, Nick Castellanos was run out of town with and was tarred and feathered. The same can go for Ben Simmons and almost everyone else that we love too. I mean, ask Mike Schmidt about what his experience was like here. Had Mike Schmidt played almost anywhere else, as you well know, he would be among the most beloved baseball players of all time. We couldn't stand the guy. He struck out way too much along with his 548 home runs. Dick Allen was reviled. He's one of the 20 best hitters that ever lived. We have no idea how to appreciate a good thing, but at the same time, that level of passion, that level of care is exactly why players love coming here and signing here and raising their families here, because there's nothing worse than playing in front of an empty stadium. You'll never do that in Philadelphia.
I love about New York, entitled, but yet somehow they're the victim. I don't get how that works. Is there anything that you would like to promote? Do we have a book? You and Greeny doing anything? Get up on ESPN, the morning show that's on so early. I wish you guys would push that back for me. What do you got?
Greeny and I have tapped out after 3 sports history books, which I think was perfectly fine. It was a trilogy. We enjoyed doing it very much. As you know, you and I have talked a lot about this baseball project that I'm working on ever so slowly. But honestly, I enjoy doing this as much as anybody, as much as anything, I should say. And I'm on with Buster Olney on ESPN's Baseball Tonight podcast every week. And I often tag Cody and things that we talk about because I'm hoping that it's of interest to you too. So look, I always enjoy coming on this show. I hope the chance to do it soon. And I'm going to enjoy watching your A's score like 800 runs this season with all those young bats that you guys have. This is a really exciting time to be a fan of that club. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future has in store.
You are the best, my friend. Be well with the kids and the wife, and we'll talk to you soon.
You're a good man. The
great Paul Hembekides from ESPN. All these years when you watch Monday Night Football, Sunday Night, this is the guy feeding all the numbers. And you can watch him on the morning show, Get Up on ESPN, which is on super early here. Him and Mike Greenberg and all the other cast. What time are they on? Like 6 a.m. or something?
It's early.
It's early.
Our old coworker, Joe Fortenbaugh, is now on that show a good bit because he's now their number one betting guy. So I see clips of him every once in a while. So they have a lot of people on that show.
I don't go to bed till like 1, 2 a.m. during the season.
I'll tell you right now, from everything I see on
6 a.m. It's like 6 a.m.
Everything you see on social media is on their show is LeBron James, the Cowboys, and Tom Brady.
I get to see him both. By the way, everything you said about the A's was spot on. Absolutely spot on. Coming up next, if you didn't watch it yesterday, I'm going to tell you why the new leader of the PGA Tour, the guy they stole from the NFL, everybody in baseball should have been. Everybody should have been listening to him. We'll talk about it next right here on A's Cast Live.
Baseball is back, and big league action has never been more affordable. For a limited time, grab your tickets to see the A's in West Sacramento for just $8. That's right, only $8 for select games this April and May. Catch the showdowns against the Royals, Cardinals, and American League West rivals, the Mariners and the Rangers. Whether it's a midweek getaway or an afternoon at the park, don't miss your chance to see your A's for less than the price of a ballpark snack. Tickets are moving fast. Head to athletics.com, that's athletics.com, to secure your seats today.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
Secure your spot for priority access to 2028 season tickets at the A's ballpark in Las Vegas for just $19.01. The amount honors the founding year of the Athletics franchise in 1901. By joining the priority list, you'll get an early opportunity to grab season tickets before they go on sale to the public, while also supporting youth baseball and softball programs across Southern Nevada. To secure your spot, visit athletics.com/Vegas.
Tyler Soderstrom joined Chris Townsend to talk about his breakout 2025 season, his new 7-year contract extension, and his commitment to the future of the Athletics.
There was some conversation right at the end of the season last year with what they were planning to come to us with. So we had a good idea. I knew that they were going to come to us with something in November, and they came with their first offer. Everything is a negotiating process, so there's that whole process. My agent, Garrett Parcell, did a great job at Paragon Sports of kind of let me and my wife and my family just kind of sit back and let them kind of handle all of the whole process of it. And, we ended up coming to terms. So it was something that I wanted to do. I love this organization. I got drafted by them. My relationships that I've built, that's what's important to me. So I'm just excited, to be here for the long term. And, like I said, just super blessed.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Secure your spot for priority access to 2028 A's season tickets in Las Vegas for just $19.01, honoring the franchise's 1901 founding year. Join the list for early ticket opportunities and support youth baseball and softball in Southern Nevada. Visit athletics.com/Vegas.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
Let's pause for station identification right here on A's Cast. All right, so let me. What else do we have today?
We have
Cody.
We have Chris Caray coming at the bottom of the hour, and we can play Luis Severino because the Dominican team is moving on. Plus, obviously, he's hasn't been set yet, but I would assume he's our opening day starter.
How much, as you love the WBC, and good luck to Sevy and the Dominican Republic, how much more is he going to pitch?
That's a good question. Here's the schedule, by the way, for the WBC going forward. You got us in Canada on Friday.
Oh, it's a rematch of the Olympics.
Both men and women's took down Canada. So us in Canada Friday at 8 p.m.
Mark DeRosa was saved.
Oh
boy, was he saved.
Pasquantino after the game. Did you hear what he said?
Hey, I like Mark DeRosa, but clearly we have seen Mark DeRosa likes a lot of Mark DeRosa.
Yes.
Right?
I read the Athletic article yesterday too.
Yeah. Britt Giroli did a great job kind of going, hey, there's some red flags here. And when you ooze arrogance, that's not a great sign. It's like it's kind of cool to be the cool guy, super cool guy on television in the morning on MLB Network, but we've kind of seen, and you know what kind of reminds me of, and this is kind of out there. Reminds me of Mark Jackson. The Warriors.
Hand down, man down.
The streets are talking. I got my ear to the streets. The streets are talking. Remember how arrogant Mark Jackson was?
Good night, San Francisco.
Remember Mark Jackson, broadcaster. Well, loved him on TV. As you just said, hand down, man down. Mama, there goes that man. All that kind of stuff. Then all of a sudden he became the head coach of the Warriors.
Fighting for my life.
Got the Warriors to play defense and actually get to the playoffs, but there was an arrogance, and it didn't play. And we always talk about leaders in sports, i.e. head coaches and managers. You have to be able to manage up to the owner and the front office, and you have to be able to manage down to the players. And when Mark Jackson said, it's us against everybody else, and he was talking about him against Joe Lacob, it was bye-bye. There's some similarities that I see, and I went back and watched some video and some of the stuff that we were talking about with DeRosa. There's a little bit of Mark Jackson and Mark DeRosa. You want to think you're Johnny Cool Guy? Yeah, how'd that work for Gabe Kapler in Philly or in San Francisco? You look at the greatest managers in our sports of just recent history. Did you ever – we dealt with Bruce Bochy as a Padre, as a Giant, and a Ranger. And when he wasn't managing, we did the whole thing with him in our family. Was there ever a time with Bruce Bochy you would have said that guy's arrogant?
No.
We've done a lot with Dave Roberts, even though we're not the Dodgers, but we've been lucky to have Dave Roberts and deal with Dave Roberts every single year. Would you ever say Dave Roberts is arrogant?
No.
Bob Melvin's the winningest manager in Oakland A's history. Do you ever get that from Bob? I mean, the great leaders, you don't get arrogance. Just saying.
But the Dominican plays on they play on Friday as well against Korea. And then you have on Saturday you have Puerto Rico versus Italy. So good luck to Daryl Hernandez in Puerto Rico versus Italy. And Vinny Pasquantino, he had some interesting comments last night. And then Venezuela plays Japan on Saturday. So Towny.
I mean, kind of what I care about is how much is Sevy going to pitch? And I can see Sevy saying, I'm going down to the very end, which I totally understand. Yamamoto a couple of years ago did it with Ohtani. These guys are all in. But I don't want him to be all in. I want Sevy. I want more Tarek Skubal. Hey, Sevy threw in a game. Get back to camp.
Well, they're saying now that there's a couple of guys on Team USA that might pull out and that Joe Ryan might take their spot on the roster. I'm trying to see if they announced who the starters are. They're Yamamoto versus Ranger Suarez for Japan, Venezuela on Saturday in that game. And then for us, Logan Webb versus TBD. Christopher Sanchez will be starting on Friday for the Dominican against Korea.
And if I'm the Giants, I'm like, yeah, Logan, great. Pitch one more game and get back.
Yeah, the tournament, when's the tournament final would be on Tuesday, March 17th at 5 o'clock Pacific in Miami.
All righty. This is important because of what is going to be happening at the end of this season. We have been sold, or we're trying to be sold, by a certain faction of our game, that there is a belief that there is this endless money, that there is this pot of gold that is out there. And recently, now Foul Territory, which podcast has gotten very popular, it is funded by players, and it's funded by the Players Union, which is fine, right? Because MLB Network is funded by the owners. Mm-hmm. But you're going to get truly the players' side of things on Foul Territory. And that's why they get a lot of players. And recently, Scott Boras, who is very influential in our game and has a lot of influence over the Players Union, went on there and did his typical Asia, and he went over to all these everything, and he's always trying to sell you that there is this endless amount of money out there, and it's baseball's fault for not going out and doing a better job to getting it to then now give back to the players. That's what he's always selling, and we've had him on the show, and he did the same thing here years ago.
Yes, he did.
Well, yesterday, if you weren't paying attention, which I doubt anybody in baseball was, the old reality check came in for everybody, just not baseball, but for every sport. Because one of the brightest guys in sports, we didn't know who he was, Brian Rolapp. Who is Brian Rolapp? He is the new CEO of the PGA Tour. And you might say, Townsend, why are you talking golf? Well, yesterday at the Players' Championship, he gave his State of the Union. Education, he went to BYU, and then he went to Harvard Business School. The PGA Tour stole this guy from the NFL. Brian Rolapp, what was his responsibilities at the National Football League? He was responsible for NFL's media businesses, including digital media, NFL Network, advertising sales, NFL sponsorships, NFL media assets, television contracts, and digital media rights. That's who he was for the NFL. He was the face, Roger Goodell, commissioner. You want to know the guy behind the scenes? Brian Rolapp. He now runs the PGA Tour, and he's trying to get the PGA Tour to get more of the pie. He said something yesterday where he talked about the media rights, where the landscape in our game has changed. We used to be in a cable deal where the belief was sign players, more people will buy cable to watch the games. The more better your team is, the more stars you have, people will buy cable to watch the game. So cable companies would give teams huge money for their rights. That game plan is gone. There's just a few teams out there that have great cable deals. The rest of everybody, it's gone. It's changed. So we're in a media rights game. You need to think of it like a pie chart. And yesterday, Brian Rolapp said that pie chart is basically $30 billion. and it's kind of exhausted. So he did the press conference, and then after he went on the show on the Golf Channel called Live From, and it's always live from the Players or live from the U.S. Open, live from the Masters. So he went on there and basically said 30 billion is basically where we're at. We're kind of exhausted. And he said, because they were asking about international stuff, he said, yes, we're working on international, but the bulk of the media rights money in the world is in the United States. Am I going to listen to the guy that ran the NFL, which is the number one sports entertainment in this country and the world? Nobody's bigger than the NFL when it comes. Now, I know soccer leagues are huge and everything, but, I mean, that's just flushed with now Saudi money. And when you look at media rights, it's crazy what the NFL is, at least, especially in our country. But he said the bulk of it is in our country. Am I going to listen to somebody from the Players Union? You mean the Players Union that's just oust your leader and Tony Clark for being shady, and the Department of Justice is investigating the Players Union? And now Tony Clark's right-hand man's taking over? Am I going to listen to Scott Boras, the agent? Or am I going to listen to a guy that set up all of the biggest deals that we know in the NFL and now is trying to do the same thing for the PGA Tour? Who do you think has way more credibility? This guy or the people we've been hearing from on the baseball side?
I would have to take the guy that worked for the National Football League, the biggest sport in the world. The number one watched event is the Super Bowl in the world, and I think I would listen to that guy.
I'm listening to this guy because I listened to him yesterday. I was like, wow.
Should we let the people listen to him?
Well, hold on. Because we only got part of the press conference that's kind of generic. So basically, he says that it's exhausted. We're at about 30 billion. Where do you, and the NFL's taken a huge chunk of it. So that means 30 billion for all of us. We're talking NBA, baseball, hockey, of course, college football, WNBA, golf, tennis, NASCAR. 30 billion, and how do we all split this pie is what this guy is saying. So do not buy into there's endless amounts out there, because this guy's saying there's not. And if you go, what's his credentials? Well, he's got all the credentials in the world versus an agent versus former players versus lawyers for the players. Yeah, that's why I wish all of us, broadcasters, players, front office, owners, and baseball, all listen. I'd love to bring this guy in and pick his brain. But obviously that's not going to happen. All right, so here is part of the press conference yesterday. Ponte Vedra Beach, home of TPC Sawgrass. It's the Players' Championship. It's going on right now. I think they got rain going on, whatever. But yesterday he had his State of the Union, and here's talking about this is digital rights, media right. I mean, this is where a lot of the money comes from when you think about these businesses and how they make their money.
The U.S. media market in rights fees is $30 billion. Currently, the NFL is $12 billion of that. They have made their public intentions clear. They would like to double that. So if you start doing that math and you're anyone other than the National Football League, you start to ask yourself the questions, next time I go to the media market, how do I make sure I have the most compelling product for fans and for our media partners so that we can compete in what is a very complicated media and ecosystem that's changing all the time. You see fans are changing their habits, television versus streaming. You see the companies and the economics of the media industry changing. Paramount just announced a very large acquisition. So it's a very dynamic time in media.
It's a very dynamic time. And right now, where the players are and the owners are, and I'll try and get us also what he said later. He was able to expand on the Golf Channel later on. Where the players are, and what's different about the players on the PGA Tour, they're basically like shareholders, kind of like, basically owners of the PGA Tour. It's the way it's operating right now. But the number one thing he just said, and that's why I think every player needs to understand how compelling, if you're telling me that you are about the future of this game and you're about protecting the future players of this game, what he just said there, how compelling is your product? You're in a fight, and the fight is for $30 billion. And the NFL is at 12, and they want to get to 24. As Brad Pitt playing Billy Bean in Moneyball said, you're the last dog at the bowl. You cannot stand up to the NFL. He said, and I made Cody watch this, he said Pete Rozelle, the old commissioner who fought with Al Davis, he said in the 60s that, and that's why we need to get these answers because they're phenomenal. He said in the 60s, the NFL basically said, we need to figure out how to do better distribution of our product. And he goes on to say, because Pete Rozelle had this great plan of distribution, get this to as many people as possible, that the NFL at that time was behind college football and baseball. Baseball and college football ruled the world when you're talking about the 60s leading into the 70s. But football, NFL, because of distribution and getting it out there, they flew past college football and Major League Baseball. So we now need to figure out, how do we make our game possibly the most compelling game that we can so we're not the last dog at the bowl? That's what needs to happen. Stop telling me about endless money, because there's not. You need to figure out your place in this space and what's best for our game now and long term. If we're all going to sit here, we care about the future, what's the very best? Because right now, the two leaders in the clubhouse, little golf reference, two leaders in the clubhouse for media rights are the NFL and the NBA. Where are we going to stand? So what is really bad? Well, we know this. This is what we know. The value of our game went from got to have star players because we're getting cable contracts, because star players mean Ted and Susie want to buy cable so they can watch the Mets or the Dodgers, the Yankees, or the Royals. If we've got star players, more people will buy cable. That's dead. Sounds like Players Union still wants to operate on that. Well, the reality is these companies will come to us because we have one strength, and our strength is content. We have more live programming than anybody else. I'm not trying to act like an expert. I'm not. But I just know this because I've read. We have more live content to offer somebody. It's not about the actual individuals playing in the sport. It's about what we have to offer. And if we go through this holy war, I don't know what ends up happening. I don't know what it looks like. But we know that we've got to, as he said, figure out, and he talked about, because when you're talking about corporate entities, you're talking about sponsorship, you're talking about, it all needs to be aligned, and you need to have the most compelling product. And if you don't have the most compelling product, you're not going to get the most money. And where the Green Bay Packers can be in the smallest market ever, but that doesn't matter because that's what the NFL figured out. I mean, we're calling Kansas City a small market. Well, what's Kansas City compared to Green Bay? Right? If the Pittsburgh Steelers are not considered a small market team in football, but they're small market in baseball, you got a problem. And the other thing about the teams, this is just not on the players, it's about the teams, right? If you've got these like 5 or 6 teams that are going to hold on to their television, their cable contracts and say the hell with everybody else, we got a problem because the NFL figured out we're stronger at 32 than we are as individuals. The NBA figured it out. Baseball needs to figure it out. We're stronger as 30 than we are as individuals. And the individuals, certain individuals are trying to hold on. Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Giants. Us, you can say we're a part of that because we're still getting, we still get a nice television check for now until we move to Vegas. But at some point, you got to come together. Everybody has to realize you're going to lose. I mean, no one's losing. Everybody's going to be rich. But you're not going to be what you want this sport to be unless you have the most compelling product you can possibly have when it comes time to negotiate. And once again, there's not an endless amount of money out there. This guy's telling you, we've kind of exhausted where it is. It's about at $30 billion. So if you take the pie chart and say there's $30 billion, the NFL's got a huge chunk and they want more. And they can get whatever. I'm not going to say they can get whatever they want, but when they go to negotiate, they've got mass leverage. What leverage do you have? That's why this whole, how are we going to do this thing between the players and the owners, it's very critical for the future of our game. So I'm not buying any more. Stop, foul territory, can bring on Scott Boras, and they just, whatever he says, they go with. But everything he's saying is not, who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to believe? The guy who was the big dog at the NFL, now running the PGA Tour, or an agent who's just about a money grab? I mean, at some point, you do have to think about the healthier sport. And I'm telling you, you know what? I understand where owners are. I understand where players are. No one's going poor here. But I care about the sport. I'm not a billionaire owner, and I'm not a multimillionaire baseball player. But I care about my sport, the industry that I work in and I love. We've got to come together and figure it out because, as he said, you need the most compelling product you can possibly have when you go to negotiate your next media rights. And he's saying that the tour, everybody else should fall in line. And when you got a bunch of teams that look like they can't compete, because obviously, as we have said, I can break down all these things about the Dodgers and their advantages of their television contract with Time Warner, the fact that when they're in bankruptcy, the Dodgers don't get taxed on their TV deal like they're supposed to because of the deal that was cut way back when Frank McCourt and bankruptcy and all of that. The fact that there's like 10 million people in LA County. There's not 10 million people around Kansas City. Like the population. I mean, there's so corporate money. There's just advantages that people have that other teams don't have. And if your answer is just spend more, it's just, that's not going to work. There has to be another way to produce the most compelling product you possibly can. We need to come together and figure that out.
We've seen the NFL now, they still have games on cable. So you're going to still get CBS, NBC, ESPN.
That's network television. That's not cable.
Well, now they're also on. Yeah, they're on Netflix. They're on
not cable.
They're on. Well, they moved into streaming, which is where most people go now.
Yeah, baseball is not on Fox Sports. West, NBC Sports Bay Area, not the cable. Where NBA, hockey, and baseball are all still on that model. NFL's not on that model, and they never wanted that. Now, obviously, the demand for their game.
Yeah, like you're seeing more sports do that. Like hockey's trying to do it with ESPN Plus and streaming games, and you got basketball being on Amazon Prime, and they're not really on network television as much. I mean, they're on NBC, and then the big deal that look with Netflix, and I brought this up before, is Netflix is definitely trying to get into the realm of live television and live sports, and that's why they've signed a 10-year, $5 billion deal with WWE to air Monday Night Raw. And that's what they're getting. They're getting Monday Night Raw every week. And all their premium events are on ESPN Unlimited, which is a streaming product. And then you're seeing what's going on there. Then I think UFC's on Paramount Plus, so they're now streaming. And we're seeing what's going on with the NFL. The NFL has games on Netflix for like Christmas Day and all that. So Netflix and the streaming services are moving because more people are watching things on their phone and tablets than they are on television. And that's the way the game's going. And baseball needs to adapt to that. And I think they're trying to do a better job of that with like the Home Run Derby going to be on Netflix, and I think opening night of Giants and Yankees is on Netflix. Matty V's calling the game. So they're trying to move that realm, but the NFL has moved past everyone for what they've been able to do, and that's why they're trying to get more because they've already figured it out.
They figured it out. They don't have labor. They're not dealing with this guy. NFL has their issues. They definitely do. But you don't really hear about them. CTE, concussions, right? They have their little battles with the players union, but yeah, it's tough, right? But once again, Everybody has to. I mean, if you're going to actually sell that you care about the future, then you have to have the most compelling product you possibly can have. But if everybody sits back there and says, I'm just fighting for every little nickel, an endless amount of money is not there. Whatever's being sold, it's not an endless amount of money. It's not there. This guy told you yesterday, hey, this is where it's at. You've got to figure out your piece of the pie. And I want everybody to make money. I wish you made more money. I wish I made more money. But yeah, our game, its strength right now is that we have 162 games with 30 teams, and it's a live content, and everybody wants live content. That's the strength of our game. But we've got to come together so we can go out and sell it. And if it is just the holy war fight, who? I mean, is that something you want to buy into, invest into?
Yeah, it's
long term.
They definitely need to have the sport as one instead of having everyone just think that it's the Dodgers and Yankees.
And then now
baseball.
you see why it's so important. You want to be more compelling? Well, we don't want 4-hour games. We don't want 3.5. That's why we have a pitch clock. That's ABS is super compelling. We need to be more compelling. Changes in our game need to happen. This guy on the PGA Tour, my God, he's talking about starting the season like wiping out for years. The PGA Tour started in Hawaii. They're going to wipe that out. They're going to change their entire schedule. I mean, the stuff he was breaking down, it's like we're going to change how this operates. Why are we going to have tournaments in January and February and going up against the NFL and college football? That's just not smart. Got to make tough decisions and smart decisions. So when you get to the bargaining table, you're the best that you possibly can be.
That's why I think the WBC.
And we never hear anyone talk about that. We just hear about me, I. What am I getting? What am I getting?
I think that's why moving the WBC to the middle of the summer in July would be, I mean, that's a huge part. You make your sport compelling. There's nothing on television that you can have right there. So you have baseball taking over.
Correct.
Aside from the regular season games of the 30 teams, you have a tournament going on that takes over. I know everyone hates the NBA's in-season tournament, but people watch it. It's in the middle of the season. So you have normal games going on, but you have a tournament going on at the same time that people are compelled by. I don't think people are really compelled, but there are people compelled by watching it. It's an idea the NBA is trying to do, and they get people going, and they play the final in Vegas. It's a destination kind of thing. And I think baseball could capture something by moving the WBC into the middle of the season, and that's compelling content.
Yeah, I've said all along, I want younger players in our game to make more money. I don't like the super long contracts we're paying guys at 37, 38. I want our younger guys to make. I love that our younger players are getting money now. Get money now as you're right before your prime and in your prime. The 6 years, you got to do the arbitration. It's 6 years. That's old. We got to get rid of that. If you're a top player right now and you're 23 years old, pay the guy. This is when he's worth the money, 24, 25, 26. Pay him. That's why I like Lawrence Butler's getting paid. And you got Sodi and you got Jacob Wilson getting paid. I'm happy Rook got paid. But like these deals, it's a 12-year, 300. Oh, they're disasters. These deals are. You think Albert Pujols' deal was good? Oh, my God. All right, coming up next, we got our guy Chris Caray.
Yep.
Who's he on the call with?
I believe it's Jenny.
It's Chris and Jenny today from we're in Mesa.
No, they're playing the Rangers and.
Oh no, I think we're in Mesa.
We're
finding out where instead of where's Waldo, where's Chris Caray next, right here on A's Cast Live.
Access to 2028 season tickets at the A's ballpark in Las Vegas for just $19.01. The amount honors the founding year of the Athletics franchise in 1901. By joining the priority list, you'll get an early opportunity to grab season tickets before they go on sale to the public, while also supporting youth baseball and softball programs across Southern Nevada. To secure your spot, visit athletics.com/Vegas.
'25 All-Star Brent Rooker joined Towny on A's Cast Live to discuss the special bond in the A's clubhouse.
There really is, and it's developed over the past several years since I've been here in 23. The guys who have have kind of been through the rebuild, and a lot of them came to the minor leagues during that time and got here in 23 or 24 or whatever it was. And it's just, it makes coming to work fun when you like the people you work with, when you like the guys that you're hanging out with, because I mean, we're together for 8 months. We're together 8 hours or at least 8 hours a day every single day. So we're hanging out, and it makes it easier to perform, easier to improve, easier to want to show up and grow as an individual and as a group when you like the guys you're doing it with.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Baseball is back, and big league action has never been more affordable. For a limited time, grab your tickets to see the A's in West Sacramento for just $8. That's right, only $8 for select games this April and May. Catch the showdowns against the Royals, Cardinals, and American League West rivals, the Mariners and the Rangers. Whether it's a midweek getaway or an afternoon at the park, don't miss your chance to see your A's for less than the price of a ballpark snack. Tickets are moving fast. Head to athletics.com, that's athletics.com, to secure your seats today.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
The time is now. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun. Spring training is back as the Athletics get ready for the 2026 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Dodgers, Giants, Cubs, Padres, and more at Hohokam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game time, schedules, and more.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, so I've been given the Know Your Rangers. I've aced every question so far.
Correct. You have got every one.
All right. They're not that hard.
They're not hard, and we should let Chris Caray know that Jenny and Jesse Goldberg-Strassler destroyed him when it came to Know Your Snakes.
It's all right. It's all right. Chris Caray has great hair. You are correct, Commander. We are not at home. We are in Surprise, Arizona. How was your trip out to Surprise, Chris Caray?
Oh, it's just lovely. I love Surprise. It's fantastic. I love it here.
How long was your drive from? Like, people don't realize how spread out this can be. How far?
It was a short 47 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's a nice little commute.
Yeah, little HOV lane action, maybe a little bit above the speed limit. We're having a good time.
Anything surprise you about Surprise?
Nothing surprises me about Surprise anymore, Towny. You know that.
Was I doing the game with you when I had the stolen vehicle?
In Surprise. That was our first game together. Yeah.
I'm scared to go back there. It's like I feel like I'm wanted.
Well, I remember the crisis that you were in. You said, I think you came, either you had the realization that it wasn't your car, or you were coming to the realization in live time right before we got on the air, and you go, now that I think about it, that's not my car. Chris, I don't think that's my car. And it turned into a whole situation. And now we know your true colors. You steal cars, you produce shows, and you leave us for the golf course every once in a while.
Let's be honest. I've stayed at a lot of hotels in my lifetime, and I've never had it where I've checked out and then all of a sudden the hotel starts calling you every 2 minutes once you've left. That's when you know, something. We're live on the air, and on my phone it just keeps like every Omni. I'm like, why are they calling me?
Panic.
There's panic at the disco. There was something wrong, and I stole a car. It's the first time I've ever stolen a car. I could have got away with it, and you know that, Chris. I could have got away with it.
You were really calm about it. For a second, I think you were planning your escape plan, how to ditch the car. And, we were already out in Surprise. I mean, this is slightly developmental area. We could have dropped it off in Sun City, lit it on fire, found a way take it to some junkyard and be none the wiser.
And then next you know, I'm a Southwest flight out of there, and no one would have even known.
Yep. It would have been the perfect heist. I don't know exactly what you would have benefited from it because it's a rental car. It's not like it was your car. It was just a rental, but we could have done it.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I haven't called a game in a week. Sorry. Allergies. And I get to call a game with Jenny. She's done a great job with Jesse Goldberg-Strassler, and now she and I, who we very rarely get to work together. It's going to be an awesome time, and I think she's done a really good job on the radio so far.
And at what point do you say, please God, make it under 3.5 hours?
I think that she was asking that question probably game 2 of her spring training broadcast time.
Yeah, because
I was asking that in Tempe. That was a game. That was one of the games of all time, Towny.
Yeah, when I looked over at you at Diablo Stadium, and we were both like, I got nothing left. What do you got? We've been here for this is awful. Like, an Angel pitcher could not throw a strike. It was just walk after walk after walk. It was like,
it's like 7 walks by the 3rd inning. It was like unbelievable. Yeah, it was bad.
It's like we wanted to heckle Kurt Suzuki from the booth. Hey, throw strikes. I mean, come on. I'm not going to make a big deal out of this. I just want to ask you, you're a very smart baseball guy. I know you look at the data. Nick Kurtz last year hit 242 in the leadoff spot compared to hitting 377 from the 2-hole. He hit 304 from the 3-hole. So 242 is far different from 377 and 304. This year in spring, he's predominantly hit leadoff again. So last year hitting leadoff, he hit 242. This year, predominantly hitting leadoff in spring, he's hitting 196.
Right.
I'm not panicking or anything. It's just, I just don't know if it's a great fit. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good opinion. I mean, I don't think we've seen enough of him to know exactly yet, but I think I'm with you in the sense that he's definitely in the top 3 hitters. He needs to be 1 through 3 somewhere. A guy that I think I would love to see get a little bit more run at the top of the order is Langeliers, surprisingly. I think Langeliers possesses power, speed, ability to get on the bases and hit the ball to the gap, and then you can have Kurtz come up and drive him home. But it just seems interesting for a guy starting off the game. I know everybody goes the Schwarber method or the Judge method, but Kurtz is a guy that hits 3-run home runs, grand slams, stuff like that. He has that type of power that anytime he comes up to the plate, he's going to hit the ball out. That's the expectation of him. That is the aura that he has created for himself. And when you have him going up there alone, leading off, you can only get 1 run out of that. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the forever plan for him. He's very clearly the most exciting hitter on this team, and he's a threat to leave the ballpark every single time he comes up to the plate. And maybe the A's want to get out in front early with a guy like that against some tough teams to start the season, catch them out flat with a guy like Kurtz who has a boatload of power. I don't know what the plan is, but I think that as the season begins to evolve and time goes on, a guy like Langeliers leading off and then following with Kurtz, or Wilson leading off followed by Kurtz, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because I'm more conventional. I like the leadoff guy to get on base and the 2, 3, 4 hitters to hopefully drive that man home.
Luis Morales yesterday, another good start. I think he went 4 2/3 or 4 1/3, whatever it is. It just shows that this kid, he's got it. We addressed it yesterday before the start. When you leave Cuba and you defect, you mature pretty fast as a young man. That's a lot going on. And the talent is just, it's effortless. He's so athletic. He's just got that natural God-given ability that you can just continue with Scott Emerson to grow more pitches, be more effective. Just talk about what you expect this year from Luis Morales when we're hoping that it will be a full season for him.
Well, everybody's talking about Kurtz and Soderstrom and all the extension guys, but this is our breakout player, I think, this year. I mean, that's the guy I think that I expect to have a really big breakout year and take ownership of his starting role, in the rotation. And yes, I know it's archaic to go 1 through 5, but this is a top of the rotation type of talent. And I think people are starting to take notice of the life on his fastball, his ability to manipulate his breaking ball, and his bulldog mentality. He goes out there trying to strike everybody out. And, this is a guy that if he can stay healthy and has a little bit of longevity is going to be a big time force in the American League for years to come. This guy has not had anything easy in his life, as you said, defecting from Cuba, where, players that get to the United States somehow, some way, through trial and tribulation, through a lot of sacrifice, through some loss, they understand that they have to make it up here. There is no other avenue for them other than baseball until, the end of their career. And so Luis Morales is a guy that is constantly proving that, these guys from Cuba that are getting away from their country and coming to the United States to play, or coming to Canada to play, or even Mexico, that this is their life. And they have to put their life and their soul out on the field. And Luis Morales has done that, I think, at a very young age.
All right, Chris Caray has a very advanced palate, unlike the commander who just eats chicken tenders and fries. This kid's going out to top dinners in Scottsdale. I want you to give me, because we've been following you on Instagram and we've been kind of following the life of Chris Caray, top 3 restaurant, because people ask all the time, when I come down for spring training, what should I do? Top 3 restaurants for you this offseason in Scottsdale that you would recommend to our listeners. Oh, wait.
I'm going to throw a timeout. This is for what aged audience? Is this for 25 and younger? Because that's the list you're going to get from homie over here. If you want a family-friendly type place, the nerdy mom right here can help you out,
Wait, so for you, Jenny, do we go 28 and under?
Yeah, obviously, yes. I did turn 29 last year, but thank you for keeping me at 28. I do appreciate it.
I think Jenny and I would frequent similar places. I don't know.
Chris Cary's for sure. I'm in bed by 8:30, man.
Chris Cary's going to some, as the kids would say, bougie places. From what I
the bouger.
Yeah, I have some friends out here. I have some contacts in the game, and I have some people that are wanting to go out to dinner with me, and they like nice places, All
right, what do you got?
Number 1, Steak 44. You can't beat Steak 44. Steak 44 is fantastic. It's really, really good. I think that's probably the premier steakhouse in all of Arizona. It's right by Paradise Valley area. We'll see athletes in and out and all that stuff. It's very, very bougie, though. It's not exactly my place. If you like good Italian, though, a family-owned restaurant has been a Scottsdale staple for 30 years. Pasta Brioni is really, really, really good. That's a place that I recommend to literally everybody. If you like good Italian, some good white tablecloth, good music, just kind of old-timey feel, that's where I would go for old-timey Italian. I like The Mission a lot. The Mission is a good, Latin fusion, kind of Mexican sort of deal. It's really, really good. And, I actually really like this place, taco place right by where I am called Gordo's Tacos. Gordo's is excellent. Really good carne asada. They've got a really good quesadilla. They've got, burritos, quesadillas. They got some good margaritas. They've got tres leches. They've got all of it. So, I'm not exactly a foodie, but when I do go out, especially with other people, I try to go out to the nicer places.
I don't normally drink beer, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. He's like the most interesting man.
What's the place that Voos always tells us? We always go to the Voos recommended.
Oh yeah,
it's by The Mission.
It's more The Mission. It would be bougie Mexican food. Voos's places is
Cienagaves is good too. That's a good Mexican place. It's right by The Mission.
God, what
Cienagaves.
is what Voos's place is down the street from?
Yeah, it's not that far. We'll have to look it up.
I think that's better than I think what he just did is better than Know Your Rangers.
100%.
Well, I was going to say, Jenny's there, and we know how good she did at trivia with Jesse. Maybe recruit Jenny to do it.
She let me wear it when she got here. She said, I really thought that you would do better on Know Your D-Bags. But she said, me and Jesse, just forewarning, they're going to let you know how well we performed. And I said, I saw. I didn't feel good about it, but I saw.
We're going to give you 1. We'll see how you do.
All right. Which athletic did Nolan Ryan strike out for his 5,000th strikeout in 1989?
That's not Know Your Rangers. That's Know Your A's.
No, Nolan Ryan struck this A out.
Yes, but that's not Know Your Rangers. That's Know Your A's.
It's history, my man.
1989.
Yes.
Think 1989.
I know. I'm thinking between the Ricky Henderson, the Carney, the.
He said it.
Yeah, you
Give
said
it to
it.
him.
Yeah,
All right, Ricky Henderson, you got
All right,
it.
so you're
All
one
right.
for one. See, now we can keep going. All right, here we go. What was the first year the Rangers advanced to the World Series?
No.
What do you mean?
Give him that one. First one.
Oh, before moving out of Texas, what were the Rangers originally called?
Where were they?
Oh, I should know this.
Yes, you should. And same thing for the Twins. It's the same thing for the Twins. Same answer. Where were the Twins before Minnesota? Where were the
He's giving me hints right now. She's telling you the Washington Senators.
That is correct. See, he's got two.
He's got two. All right, one more.
I have one. I have one and one with help.
Okay.
That's this one.
What, the Nolan Ryan one?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
What Chicago White Sox player did Nolan Ryan get into a fight with in 1993?
He charged the mound.
They're doing a giveaway this year for the Rangers of it.
He had the longest hitting streak in college baseball at Oklahoma State.
Well, you did a giveaway, Oklahoma State. Yeah. Ventura, right?
Robin Ventura. See, look, he's acing it today.
Yeah, he texted me and said, I don't think I know anything about the Rangers.
Yeah, he's got it.
Well, you're asking me White Sox questions, A's questions. I was ready to come prepared with the all-time runs leader for.
Who's the all-time leader? Who's the Rangers' all-time leader in hits?
In hits.
Yeah.
This is it's either Palmera or it's Juan Gonzalez, right?
Michael Young.
Michael Young. But Young is also the all-time leader in runs scored for the Rangers.
Funny, he's the all-time leader in hits, which means he was able to be on base where he's going to be able to score.
Yeah.
They kind of go hand in hand.
Who was the first Texas Ranger to win the home run derby? You said his name already.
Was it El Bombi?
No, you said his name already.
Oh, Segui? Juan Gonzalez?
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
All right, one more. He's doing well. He's doing well.
All right.
This is a collaborative effort, guys.
Who was the first Texas Ranger to hit 50 home runs in a season? It happened after the year 2000, so that makes it easier for you.
It doesn't make it that much easier for me.
Yeah, come on, He played shortstop at the time.
A-Rod?
So look at that. He's acing it today.
See, we were going to play
the super hints. I'm getting help right now.
We're going to play
my entire college career, complete plagiarism.
Right here.
Phoning a friend.
It's not even a phone. It is a direct line.
Google machine.
Last one. Which outfielder dropped the infamous fly ball in game 162 that helped the A's
John
win?
Hamilton.
There you go.
Look at that.
I mean, today's broadcast, when you've got what we have on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network, we've got TV personalities today. We're talking the amount of just it factor in our radio booth today. Do you guys have to be separated because there's so much it factor in the booth today, or can you actually fit the two of you in the booth?
I mean, Jenny, it is a small booth. Jenny came to camp, in shape, looking good, workouts, whole deal. So did Dallas. Me, whatever. She fits in the booth just fine. Okay. I feel like I'm a little bit wider and, it's a little more space taken up. And I don't think that there's too much of a star factor. I think we're excited to work together, but she's just hoping that we don't have a 4-hour game.
72-minute game.
Yeah.
I have an idea for tomorrow because Jenny's doing television with Dallas on NBC Sports California.
Wait, Jenny's not going to be doing our game tomorrow?
Well, she is just on television. So tomorrow
I'm with the great
Korak. So
I'm
why don't
with
we
the great Ken Korak tomorrow?
We'll bring Korak in and do Know Your Padres.
Ooh.
We'll get Korak in.
Let's see what the Hall of Famer knows about the Friars.
And not every answer is Jerry Coleman
or Tony Gwynn.
We should change it up. We should do No Peoria. Know Your Peoria. Know your surprise.
Surprise!
No cocktails at restaurants that Chris Carey's have been attending in Scottsdale. All I see on Instagram is cocktails. That's all I see. All right, you guys, you kids have a great time today on the broadcast. We'll be listening.
Thanks, Towny. We love you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Chris Carey with Jenny Kavanaugh making a special appearance, and he did very well today on Know Your Rangers.
I was very impressed. I didn't really give him a lot of hard questions, but I wanted to make him feel good about himself.
Aren't you kind?
Well, I'm here to. I love building people up.
All right, how much time do we got?
We got about 2 minutes or so, and then we could end with our interview with Luis Severino.
Well, why don't we do Sevy now? Because there's some things I want to talk about with Luis. So Luis Severino, I am pulling for you. Go out and deal for the Dominican, but it's like the Dominican Republic. But it's like, how long do we want him there? Don't you want to pull him back like right now and put him in bubble wrap?
You want him ready for opening day?
Steve Phillips, the former GM, now on Sirius XM, and you see him MLB Network, said it best. He goes, "Oh yeah, you want guys to play in the World Baseball Classic. You just don't want your guys to play in the World Baseball Classic." But hopefully, going to be a massive year for Luis Severino. We caught up with him down at spring training. Ace of the staff, Luis Severino, joins us here on A's Cast. So year 2, what's it like coming to spring training, getting ready for the second year with the Athletics?
Excitement. Every year we get to start spring training, see a lot of new faces and the same guys that played last year. It's always fun. It's always fun to see, what each individual work in some stuff, to get better each year. So, hopefully, everybody stays healthy and we get a good season going.
Something that I've noticed in talking with some of the guys, these kids are growing up in front of our eyes, right? They're all a little more experienced. They're all getting a little bit bigger. You get to see it on a daily basis. So when you got back, what have you seen in a lot of the young players?
I was excited to see that a lot of position players is already here. Kurtz was here, Soto was here, Wilson was here, working. Clark also was here. So just seeing those guys, got here early to get better, that's getting me motivated. Just to, go out there and compete for those guys.
Are you noticing more confidence? I know it's super early, but have you noticed a little more confidence in the clubhouse with these players?
Yeah, I think the good thing is we got a great group of guys, and everybody, even, Kurtz, Rookie of the Year, Sodi have a great season, Wilson too. For them, I think that's not enough. They want to go out there and get more. So, that's the mentality that I like for a team. That's not satisfied with words and stuff. They just want to go out there and compete.
And so, for so many people, it's about being comfortable. Are you a little more comfortable going into year 2 here?
Yeah, I think everybody is more comfortable, more the pitchers. We got a year in Sacramento to figure out what we need to do. So I think this year we just need to stop making excuses and go out there and compete and trying to win more games.
The reality is it's change. And change, you have to figure it out. And I think for a lot of people, when you came to the ballpark for the first time, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter, it was just all different. The mentality for you going into year 2, how much better do you think it's going to be for you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be way better. I think, knowing Shea, working with him for a year and then knowing hey, we know when it's windy, the ball flies more that way, and we're gonna just figure it out what is better for pitchers in that field. So I think last year was a great experience for us pitching there. So this year, I think we have a more familiar ground.
What was the big key for you this offseason? What did you work on? What did you want to bring here for 2026?
I think for me, just being more consistent in the zone, throw more strikes. I feel last year I had a lot of hit by pitches, a lot of walks. Usually I throw a lot of strikes, and I just need to focus on that. Like I said before, me and Shea working another year, that's going to be great for me. I have a chance to know him, and he knows me now, and know the pitches that we need to throw in each count. So that's going to be huge.
You know, I know a guy like you, you set goals, and you're an old school pitcher. You want over 30 starts, you want over 200 innings. Are there still those kind of numbers that you think about heading into a season?
Yes, of course. I mean, my goal this year is to at least 200 innings. I go out there and compete for my team, make every start, and hopefully make it to the playoffs. I feel like we have a great group of guys that if we make it to the playoffs, they're gonna be it's gonna be excitement for this franchise, and they're gonna see what we can do in those moments.
I mean, obviously, you're the leader of the staff, and there's a lot of young guys here. There's a lot of Latin pitchers who are here. How important is it for you to be that guy to so many of the young pitchers?
Yeah, for me, I want to do the same thing that the guys did for me when I was coming. Guys like Cesar Sabatia, Ivanova, Dylan Pertains, that helped me grow up as a pitcher. Who they were not afraid to tell me when I was doing something bad or something wrong. So I wanted to be that kind of guy, who when not doing something right, hey, like that's not right. But also, embrace when they're doing something good.
All right, I've been asking everybody, coolest thing that you did this off season that's not baseball. I know you like to travel with the family. So the Severino family, what was the big thing you guys did? What was the best thing you did this off season?
So this year, it's a long time that we didn't travel, didn't go anywhere because we just bought a house. But for me, excitement, I love gaming. So I built my own game room and wine cellar. No. So I've been.
Are they together?
No, it's like next to each other.
Yeah.
That's the only two things that I can choose to do in my house. Everybody else, my wife can do it. This is the only thing that I can do. So I was really excited about those things.
So finally, your wife gave you an area that this is yours.
Yeah. So when we get mad at each other, I just go to my game room and stay there for a little bit.
So, and also you can pop open a nice bottle of wine as you're gaming.
Yes, exactly.
Congratulations, you have your own man cave.
Thank you.
Hey, good luck this season. Stay healthy.
Much.
We know it's going to be a big year for you, and I know there's a lot of expectations for you guys to be a lot better. So, good luck this year, and we'll see you back in Sacramento.
Thank you.
Good for him, right? Finally has his own little man cave. Set up the whole gaming thing. I think it's something you would appreciate.
Yes. I'm playing video games in my living room because I don't have a man cave in my apartment.
Well, he now has his own setup, and it's next to the wine cellar.
Pop up with a bottle of white or red wine and play some video games. I mean, that sounds ideal for me.
We need Luis Severino. It's 30-plus starts. That's non-negotiable. I mean, if we're going to be good, like we all think we're going to be, he's got to give you volume. And I'm not even talking about numbers. Starts, innings. That is so crucial in today's game. Somebody's got to set. There's got to be the lead horse. I want to think we're going to get what we got at Jeffrey Springs last year and that Luis Morales and Jacob Lopez and on and on and on. But somebody's got to be the lead dog in starts and innings, and it needs to be him. And everybody's talking about how more comfortable he is. It's just get him back healthy from the WBC. Up next, we're heading to Surprise, Arizona. It's the Athletics. It's the Rangers. Enjoy. It's going to be Chris Caray, Ginny Kavnar. Enjoy the broadcast, and we'll see everybody tomorrow right here at 11 a.m.
Secure your spot for priority access to 2028 season tickets at the A's Ballpark in Las Vegas for just $19.01. The amount honors the founding year of the Athletics franchise in 1901. By joining the priority list, you'll get an early opportunity to grab season tickets before they go on sale to the public, while also supporting youth baseball and softball programs across Southern Nevada. To secure your spot, visit athletics.com/Vegas.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.